It is time for a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you is a Terran versus Protoss, where we're starting off on the map Meganathan. Now, spotting right here in the top left, playing with the red Terran SCVs, we have none other than Cure. His opponent down in the bottom right with the blue Protoss pieces. He goes by the name of Classic. Classic, of course, an absolute monster. Completely reinventing himself, really, in 2025. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't really all too impressed by what Classic was cooking up. Obviously, since then, he has won a bunch of tournaments. He managed to get second place at the World Championships this year as well, which, you know, maybe it may kind of sound like an insult, but getting second place at the World Cup is nothing to be embarrassed about, especially since, well, that series against Zealot, it ended up being a little bit predictable. They've played against each other twice at the World Cup. They actually played against each other right before the World Cup. Classic showed the strategy that he was going to be executing as well at the EWC. Zealot in the interim basically figured out exactly how to counter it, and then Classic tried it out in the first series they played. It didn't work, and then he tried it again in the Grand Finals, and it still did not work. So the Grand Finals, in a way, were a little bit anticlimactic, but I feel like across the board, Classic has been playing some fantastic StarCraft, and in this series, yeah, I do believe he is going to be the favorite. That being said, Cure, he has always had a monstrous TVP. For a long time, his Terran versus Protoss was considered to be the very best in the world, so let's see what he can do against the likes of Classic right now. Now, I will say that the last few times I've seen Cure play in this particular matchup, he's played a little bit too passively for my liking. So, the most successful Terran players on the new patch against Protoss have been playing a lot more aggressively. If you play the very defensive approach, it just doesn't really seem to ever work out. I guess the main problem you run into as a Terran player is that Protoss has about 17 different follow-ups. The most common ones would be to go into very quick Storm. You can go into very quick charge slots, for example, with Storm, but also blink into Storm is not weird. You can go into double Robo with Colossi, a very popular choice as well. Or you can play the Gateway Man, right? You can play like 16 gateways and just eventually add on a bunch of tech as well. But you keep your gas income very low. You try to build up your workers and, well, warp in a gajillion Stalkers and Zealots. And it seems that if you just leave Protoss to do their own thing, at some point you are gonna get overwhelmed by one of the three. Protoss can be very oppressive in the mid to late stages, and if you decide to play the more passive approach, the one that was very popular at the end of the previous patch, it just never really seems to work out in favor of Terran. But maybe today I'll be proven wrong. Hellion production coming up. A little bit of an oddball there. No starport yet. We'll probably see that added into the mix here in just a moment. Fourth command center, or third command center rather. We'll probably get the starport started here in just a little while. That being said though, without the without a medevac, I don't think you're really going to be able to get much value here out of the Hellions. They're mostly just meant for base defense for now. Jimmy is going to take one of those attacks to the face. Didn't even bother walking away. The Adept, now with one confirmed kill, is going to try and see if it can make its way back home. And I guess that is where the Hellion is nice. Yeah, you can snipe a couple of those units on the retreat. Okay. Sentry right now. Third Nexus right now as well. Blink, indeed, is going to be Classic's weapon of choice. Classic not yet doing what we have been seeing from the likes of, for example, Hero, where Hero is just doing whatever he likes, right? He's just building his structures wherever he can. Still, though, using the Twilight Council as part of the wall-off, I wouldn't consider it spicy. But maybe in Classic's book, this is as far as he's willing to push it. I do really like what Hero has been doing, though. Just across the board. It's been so entertaining. I feel like for a while there, I was only casting Hero games. Trying to have a look as well at what the other Protoss players are up to. But there's no denying that Hero has been playing some very good StarCraft lately. Winning the vast majority of the series with, well, some very wonky strategies. I was wondering if maybe Classic would take a page out of those books as well. But for now, it's going to be Stimpack here for Cure. Blink is indeed going to finish up right now for Classic. He's done all of this off of just 2 gateways. So, double gateway, third Nexus. It's technically very greedy. It basically means, especially with the Sentry here, it basically means that you can't really deal any damage here as Protoss. But since Cure, like I said, has been playing very defensively, Classic has picked up on the same information too. He has decided to just take the risk, take a third Nexus off of just 2 gates, and, well, eventually build up the bigger eco, and then with the bigger economy, you can build up a larger army later on into the game. You can still put on a little bit of pressure, though. There is an observer out. He could, if he really wanted to, blink into the main base. I highly doubt that that is going to be the case. Reaper Scout? No. Are we going to force field? No, we don't need to. We just stand our ground. That Reaper tried to look intimidating. The sentry did not blink. I mean, also because it can't, I suppose, at least compared to the Stalkers, but if it had eyes, it did not hesitate. Alright, Templar Archives right now, together with the good old charge. Yeah, Classic is ready to, well, get the ball rolling. He'll probably go into a 4th Nexus momentarily, and he is already feeling mighty comfortable. Big power spike coming up here for Cure, though. Classic will see it. Stimpack, combat shields, and then also +1 infantry attacks. Is he going to use it for offense, or is he just going to use this to try and secure the 3rd base? Stalkers will try and slow this down to the best of their abilities. Basically, what Classic now wants to do is buy enough time for this upgrade to finish up, if Terran does decide to go across the map. So we dance. Good little bit of damage done here by those Stalkers, though. Yeah, 7 Marines in total. The Observer just now did end up getting sniped, but that's not the end of the world. Now, has the delay been big enough? That's the question. 4th Nexus, indeed, is fired up. Classic believes that he's already got the defense in the bag. Will he actually be able to defend it, though? Because this is still on a razor's edge. How many High Templar do we have? We've got 3 of them. There's at least 1 with energy. The others are going to get there in about 10 seconds time. Wow, we're actually going to face this head on. I find this a little overly ambitious here for Classic. Feedback. Storm into choke point would not be a misplaced spot. Is this an overextension by Classic? Yeah. I was wondering why in the world we decided to move out there. Now that's awkward. Classic had all of the tools to defend. All he needed to do was not go out there. Play the position to your advantage. Instead, we decided to try and, channel all of our energy into, no apparent... okay, advantage. Cancel over here on the big warp in because the Prism is going to die. I think if Classic would have set over here, he would have had enough time to get at least energy on 2 more of those Templar. And he would have had plenty of stuff. Like, he only had, like, 2 Zealots when he was charging in there. A bit silly. Now, suddenly, Kira is going to outscale him very fast. Oh, well, the storms are still juicy, though. Ooh, careful. It still shows you, though, the fragility of this matchup, right? It's so easy for things to go horribly wrong. Kira now finding himself at a pretty beefy supply advantage. Already going into the Ghosts. Ghosts are going to be out in a moment. Robo Beidou is going to be available too here in just a moment here for the Protoss. And that should give him access to the Colossus. Colossi deal bonus damage against light. These units, of course, being light. But they also have 25 additional health compared to the previous patch. Either way, it does mean that the Colossi are not a bad transition whatsoever. But I feel like Classic there, yeah, getting his 4th Nexus killed was a little unnecessary. And it has put him on the back foot. 4th commands that are coming up right now for Cure. Armory in the back of the Terran's main. A little bit late. 2-2 could have already started up a while ago. Fingers crossed Cure is going to be paying attention to that here in just a moment. Whew. 1 Ghost does get sliced in half there. +2 indeed has been fired up. That's good. He'll probably get the 2nd engineering bay here in just a moment. Zealot drop in the back of the Terran's natural. Okay. And this is really just, again, to buy time. This time around, it's for those Colossi. So the Colossi, they're getting their extended thermal lens research. It's about halfway done. It'll suit Cure just fine, though, as he is now making the transition towards the good old 4th Command Center. Okay. Fifth Nexus on the right side of the map. Classic trying to see if he can still extend his economy a bit. But what was previously an attempt to just have an overwhelming economy, it's now sort of turned into a reasonably good one, but really nothing to write home about. Still though, his army is scary. It all comes down to the spellcasters. So the High Templar with Storm can tear this Terran army apart. Likewise though, this Protoss army without Storm, if the Ghost can EMP the High Templar, remove all of the energy out of them, then I think the Terran army will just walk all over this of the Protoss. Gold base is going to come up. Okay, fair enough. Very ballsy. Kira's going to see it right now. It all comes down to the spellcasters. 8 SCVs in the meantime. Ooh, cheeky little storm drop. Let me actually back up on that. I thought it was just going to be a Zealot run by, because I knew there were Zealots out there. But no, that damage was not done by... Okay, not done by the Zealots. It was done by the 1 High Templar and then the 1 Zealot inside of the prism. So as we see the gold base being taken... Da-na-na-na-na-na. We storm the mineral line. There's something beautiful about that, right? I mean, at least if you're a Protoss player. Nexus over on the watchtower, though, is not going to happen. No surprise there. Base over here to the right of it did finish up. Prism is gonna be... Ooh, chased down yet again. Dude, this 1 High Templar. Woo! 17 kills. That 1 High Templar just got 17 worker kills. Big EMP here. That's nice and all. Fighting in the speed-up circle, though, with very fast-moving units is dangerous. It is apparently what we're gonna try and pull off. Those 17 workers have solidly brought Classic back into the game. Not all heroes wear capes, but that guy did. He's dead now. But it is indeed allowing Protoss to move across the map yet again. And with a well-placed Storm in this engagement, ooh, this could still turn out to be an absolute disaster here for Cure. No Liberators or anything along those lines just yet. He's been preoccupied trying to get the Ghost numbers back up, adding on Vikings as well to deal with the new Colossus threat. 4 of those bad boys are already down, and we have so many Storms. Storm, 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 storm. Well, warp in. GG. 22 SCVs, by the way, did die during all of this. Wow. Cure saw what the weather forecast was going to be. And he still did not bring an umbrella. Well, I guess he was trying, right? The plan was to try and destroy the opponent's army with EMP. But then the Colossi came out, and they decided to destroy the destroyers, which then made the weather forecast once more unpredictable. Yeah. And that is the type of game, right, that you look at. And I know there's going to be some Terran complainers out there that look at that game and are like, yo, I got pretty much the perfect early game. I sniped the 4th Nexus of the opponent because of an overextension by the Protoss. That was about the best spot that I can ever be in. I can't really capitalize on it because of Storm. And then when I try to counter Storm, I died to the next follow-up from the Protoss. It is a bit of a predicament. It is a difficult spot to be in. A lot of variety from Protoss in the mid-game. And you can't really expect exactly what they're going to be doing. Well, in this particular instance, Classic is going to go for the good old Probe Scout early on. I guess what a lot of Terran players are experiencing at the moment is that they feel like they can only win if Protoss makes very significant blunders in this matchup. That's kind of what it feels like, I guess, to a lot of people. Or like, it's not so much because they are playing really well, it's because the opponent played really bad. Which is it's not entirely true, obviously, but that's kind of what it feels like sometimes, where you have a meta where your strategy can work, but it only really works if the opponent doesn't. I think every StarCraft fan that has tried getting good at the game at some point has experienced that. It's like, yeah, I have an answer, but only if my opponent sucks. Crossing your fingers and hoping your opponent sucks is always a questionable strategy. But I do think that's what a lot of Terrans are currently feeling like in this particular matchup. Because if unchecked, Protoss can just look so freaking oppressive. Okay, let's see. Will we go Twilight Council yet again? Probably. It is looking like another Twilight build. Twilight is every Protoss favorite movie, right? I think that we all know that. Yeah, there we go. Do you think Classic is Team Edward? or Team Jacob? Is it Jacob? James? No, I think it's Jacob. I think Classic is definitely Team Edward. Yeah, it has to be. Anyways, the Twilight here is going to be built. And this should always be blink first. I say should because we have seen the likes of Hero go into charge first. More often than not these days. Which I find quite funny. Bunch of units over here on the high ground waiting for an Adept that might move in. Maybe a Stalker that might move in. Blink for the Stalkers. It is. Now he's looking around the map to scout any sort of, I don't know, starports or medevac drops that could be moving in at some point in the future. Sentry on the back of this again for full scouting. Yeah, and Classic is now not entirely aware of what the opponent is going for. But effectively the way it works, right, is that he's got a list of potential strategies that he could be facing off against. And he's crossing potential ones off of the list. So rather than trying to figure out exactly, okay, this is what my opponent has, this is what he's playing, he's trying to cross off potential threats that could be coming up. And in this particular instance, I think he's got a decent understanding, although these Stalkers are still going to have their work cut out for them. The Marines are planning on running at the third Nexus and killing it. Operation Snipe the Base is a go. Oh, okay. Apparently we decide to settle on something less exciting. Bunch of other Terran reinforcements, though, do show up. I really like the Sentry here, using the Guardian Shield, reducing the incoming damage significantly. Still, though, a lot of the Terran units do pop inside of the bubble. Blink is going to be just seconds away from finishing. I think Classic is okay. He's going to have to pull some of the probes. Just waiting for another warp-in cycle. Siege Tank is driving through as well, though. He needs to shut this down. Nice micro there by Cure. He needs to shut this down before the tank actually gets set up. And that little pickup there, he does it again on the Cyclone, may prove to be absolutely critical. Now the Siege Tank is in position. Landed Viking is going to be used as well. Yeah, probes are pulled. Classic knows that he needs to shut this down ASAP. How many workers is he going to pay, though? Medevac is next. So far, not a whole lot of probes have died yet. Honestly, very well managed there by Classic. 6 probes is significant, but he does have a third Nexus now. No third base here for the Terran, so as long as we start pumping out the workers 3 at a time, I think Classic is going to be able to get that eco going eventually. Still, though, not a very comfortable game now. It's a reasonably safe assumption to make. The Terran does not have a third command center, but you never really know for certain. Gotta test the waters here at the front, but double siege tank already set up. Stimpack finally coming. Combat shields will probably be queued up here with the next 100 minerals and gas. Well, maybe not. It's not a rush. There it is. The combat shields is quite a fast upgrade, at least compared to Stimpack. Stimpack always takes priority here. So how do we celebrate the defense? Even though it was only just barely a defense? We're gonna make a Templar Archives, of course. Little Viking going in. A very ambitious Viking. What about this bad boy over here? Are we just landing Vikings now? Are we gonna vent the liking? Yep. They're actually kind of nutty, right? So Vikings deal bonus damage to mechanical units. And probes are mechanical units. So they're actually two-shot probes. It's pretty good. I still feel like there is actually potential in a strategy around landed Vikings. I still think it's one of the coolest units in the entire game, but we don't really... We mostly see them used in this matchup as like a Colossus killer, right? But I wonder if at some point we're gonna get a proper landed Viking meta. It'd be sick. Now, we do have High Templar being warped in, but what we don't have is Size Storm. Yeah, okay, so it's going to be charged together with Archons instead. You're going for a follow-up attack. Keep in mind, though, that there is no third command center. So, effectively, a 2-base all-in it is. He could have decided to pull the boys. He can still decide as well to build a base. But he needs to get a move on. And I'm a little afraid that if he spends 400 minerals right now on a command center, that is exactly the amount of resources he should have spent on additional units instead for this push to succeed. Siege tanks right now getting into a pretty darn good spot. It is a bit messy because the Bio Army is leaving this behind. Marauders in the front. Stalkers now coming around the side as well. It's a lot of losses for both players. But I think this group of Marine Marauder medevac may actually just barely be enough, although I say that. 3 probes only have died. There's the Terran reinforcement showing up. 3 probes only have died, and I think Classic can be fairly happy about it. Immortals right now coming out. No Storm, though, makes all of this so much more manageable for the Terran player. And now that he knows that there is no Storm, guess what we do? Now we pull the boys. We're even bringing some minerals. We're bringing some barrels of Vespine gas. How nice. Let's see. How much work can we do? This is one attack right here for all the marbles. Fighting SCVs against an Archon is very dangerous. Archons deal splash damage, but I think there is still more than enough Terran to break through all of this. Yep. The SCVs are going to die, but even more probes will be paying the price. The third Nexus itself is certainly dead. And I think there is just enough Terran to just plow through the remnants of the Protoss forces. Nice game right here by Cure. I think the more aggressive styles, man, I think this is what needs to be done as a Terran. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 3 series takes place on Botanical. Not an official StarCraft 2 ladder map. Same actually for Maganatha. So the series is from the RSL. Week 1 of Season 3 of the RSL. And they have a bit of a different map pool, which I really like. I honestly think it's really nice when tournament organizers decide to not just go with the good old proven ladder map pool. Nothing wrong with the ladder map pool. But I think the strategy part of real-time strategy does come into effect more frequently when you have more maps. Which I quite like. Yeah, I like it when my strategy games are strategic. Alright, let's see. Classic going for the good old high ground wall, it seems. We have seen this map a few times during the TLMC, the Team Liquid map contest. It did look nice. Avex, by the way, the map maker, in case you're wondering why it says Avex in front of the name, I don't know. Apparently he just decided to jam his own name right over there in front of the name of the map. I don't really mind it, right? He could put a signature on there, although I would have liked it better if we had the signature right over here, rather than the logo. Do you think map makers should sign their maps? I mean, it is definitely a form of art. I think they should. Maybe just sort of hide it somewhere, you know? I think it would be cool. Better than having it above the minimap. Making maps is not easy whatsoever. Maybe have like a little decorative bit, you know? Like do we have any examples of it in this particular one? Not really, but you could have like one of these little shops or bunker things, whatever this is like an exhaust, I guess. You could have your name spelled out on one of these little things. I think that would be kind of fun. Anyhow, a little bit of an Easter egg. Command center on low ground right here for Cure. And we'll see if he decides to go for a more aggressive strategy yet again. You don't just have to go for like 2 base all-ins. You could also go for like triple command center based all-ins. Although, obviously, if you go for 3 CC, you will have to deal with any potential Storm follow-ups. And Storm is always something that is at least to be considered. What about a Ghost Rush? Terrible build order at this level, but they are spicy. Is that command center mispositioned? It kind of feels like it's mispositioned. Let me see the nexus. No, maybe it's fine. No, I think it is mispositioned. Feels far. Nah, that's mispositioned for sure. Am I crazy? Yeah, no, it's definitely mispositioned. Look, this one is like that large of a box. This one is, I think it's 1 square off. Maybe on both sides. Most maps have an indicator for what the exact center is. I think this map does as well. This is severely going to hinder your income. Oh, wait, did he just... Was I hallucinating? I think he noticed it too. So this is while the Stalker is in the middle of the map having a bit of a party. Yeah, it was mispositioned. Okay. I was gonna say, if you don't pay attention to that, if you lose sight of such little things, right? So it's very easy to not notice that. But if you don't, it's gonna cost you probably 1,000+ minerals. And that, at this level of StarCraft 2, is pretty much GG. Because suddenly those Stalker attacks are just going to hit that much harder. You're just unable to follow your build order. So I'm very glad right there for Kier that he noticed it. It would be an unfortunate way to go out. It happens to the best of them. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen Cyril do it. So maybe not the best of them, but, you know. You catch my drift. Okay. It's going to be Blink yet again. No surprise there from Classic. Classic, rarely the spiciest Protoss player out there, but... he is going to scout out exactly what's going on. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is a mantra that Hero has never heard of before. If it ain't broke? What now? Sorry, what? But all my strategies are broke. I guess if everything is broke, nothing's broke. It's going to be a triple Nexus start yet again off of just 2 gateways. Yeah, Cyril taking the fun out of those generalizations. You know how, like, some very famous people are just known by their first name? Maybe Cyril should be the same, you know? Cyril can be on the list of, like, Arnold. We'll just refer to him as Yona from here on out, okay? How about that? Yona is an uncommon enough name for it to actually work. You know you've made it in IRL, right? When people just hear the name Arnold and they know immediately who you're talking to. That's so sick. All right, anyways, let's see. Push again here from Cure. 2 command center yet again here from Cure, so not all too committed. Trying to get this this attack done before charge could be out. We're bringing 2 siege tanks to the party because obviously they were very effective in the previous one. Charge, though, is a pivotal upgrade. He wants to put up the tanks in a good spot, but difficult to achieve because if you siege up the tanks, you can't pick it up anymore inside of the medevac. Nice little repair. Now we decide to siege them up. Lovely work right here by Cure. I gotta say, I think most Terrans there would have already sieged up the tank and then lost them all to the Stalkers because you can't micro them anymore in the same way. Stalkers, though, thinking about going around the back. Zealots in the front. Zealots in the front. Maybe a bunch of Immortals in the front as well. Whatever other unit he can make. Cloak gets activated on the Banshee. Only a single Marine there does go down. Charge, though, is just seconds away from finishing. Chrono Boost here coming in very clutch. Immortal gets used as well. Do we have enough? I think there is just barely enough here for Classic. Woo, that was tight. Is there even really enough, though? It's mostly just that the siege tanks are cleaned up right now, and it slows down the advancement of this attack tremendously. Yeah, he's got enough. Bunker is going to get denied. Siege tank that's reinforcing this also is going to go down the drain. Classic survives his 2-gate triple Nexus opener. But you can see what the vulnerability is, right? You run into so many problems if you don't micro it at least to like 90-ish% efficiency. Now though, Cure is finding himself in a bit of a weird spot. Third command center now is insanely late. Classic is going to try and see if he can run away with this advantage. Not by going for an all-in on the other side of the map, but he's trying to stretch his advantage by building up a fourth Nexus. Combat shields, or combat shield right here together with Stimpack, +1 infantry. All of it is coming eventually. I think double upgrades here would make sense for Cure, so maybe just go, yep, there we go, into the second armor upgrade there too. The second NG Bay upgrade there too, get the armor going. Shield battery inside of the main base's mineral line. It is going to negate the Banshee. And while the Banshee was an important part, it is now dead. Classic can now do whatever he likes. And what does he like this time around? Difficult for Cure to figure out, of course. It is going to be the Gateway Man, and apparently we are also going into... Well, I guess this is still the Gateway Man, right? Dark Templar come out of gateways. Anyway, we are also gonna build up the Dark Shrine. No Storm, no Colossi, no double Robo, none of that. This is going to be Gateway units only, at least for the time being. Missile turret is in the correct spot. Third command center now is out. So I guess what we're going to do is try and move in as soon as Terran lands the base. Classic sees it right now though, and this is a formidable amount of Terran. In the meantime, the Zealot drop in the main base has arrived. Big warp in over here too. And as the Terran army is retreating, the Protoss army moves into the front. Perfect 1-2 punch right here from Classic. The Zealots in the main base will probably be sacrificed, but it is going to slow down the Terran's eco so much. And honestly, the command center itself may end up going down. If you're not careful, Classic could probably try and snipe it. Instead, he is wanting to go for the throat. I think the safer choice would have been to go after the command center. Easier said than done, though. Especially when you're dealing with limited amounts of information. I love the recall. Yeah, may as well save him. Sure. Now we're dealing with a Protoss who is going up to 5 bases. And Cure, who is stuck on 2. Now, I'm not great at math. But last time I checked, 5 is a bigger number than 2. Look at that nosedive as far as the income goes. Oof. Classic grabbing a massive advantage. Probably getting about like 12 Zealots worth or so more per minute compared to his opponent. And that adds up very rapidly. Maybe a little less than that because the mules were mining, but... yeah, I try to leave a little bit of educational content in my videos too, you know, so you're not feeling entirely wasted here. Yeah. 5 is a bigger number than 2, guys. You can write that one down. You can note that one down. If you learned something, please hit the like button. Thank you. You know, it's not entirely just entertainment, you know. I need you to... this is going to be on the test. There will be a test at the end of all of this. I mean, not at the end of this, like, you know, one bit of content, but there will be the test, of course. Anyway. Tomorrow I will teach you what the left side is and what the right side is. I'll give you a little bit of a hint for now. Left is where your thumb is on the right. There you go. Anyways, Orbital Command now being hit by the Dark Templar. Speaking of Dark Templar, though, they're moving in and around to Terran bases now. As soon as we see the Dark Templar distracting the ball of Terran, immediately the rest of the Protoss army is springing into motion again. Not the perfect fight, though, that Classic was hoping for, but he may just have the numbers advantage, although... none of this is cost efficient, right? Like, that's one thing to keep in mind here for Protoss. Yeah, you lose way more resources with this type of style. It is a very Zergy approach. If there is a way for Cure to win this, it would be based on pure cost efficiency. Without Storm, without Colossi. Well, there is a Colossus out now, but it's pretty late. This is the type of Terran army that can win against that of the Protoss. 15 SCVs did die. Prism did snatch up the one Colossus. We'll try and bring it back home. But Classic, overextending there, may have just found himself in a situation that he thought was impossible. He was playing for the victory already. Cure still has a massive army. What Cure doesn't have, though, is worker production. Cure apparently giving up on the SCVs here. And I think we are going in for one final hurrah. Let's see, do we have enough? Oh, a YOLO drop? Here we go. Sometimes we see the Sim City, right, of the Protoss really working against them when they go full Zealot Stalker. With Storm, you can storm your way to victory here. I think this Sim City over here from Classic is fine, but we've seen games where Protoss just can't defend their own main because their units are going in single file. 7 SCVs, by the way, did go down yet again. SCVs, not really that important. But for Classic, all he really wants to do is buy time. Oh, this is stupid. We really don't need this, Classic. Why are we building up another Nexus? I really don't think that should be our priority, man. Maybe he's got a bit of a misread, and that may also be a problem for him, because Cure is all in. Like, Cure does not have a way out of this. It needs to end within the next couple of minutes for Cure. And this base is not likely to pay for itself. Now, Dark Templar are super good in this kind of situation, too. There's only going to be so many scans available with triple orbital command. Nice blinkies over here, though, going after the Medivacs right now, making it impossible for this Terran army to retreat. What about the second half, though, of the Terran forces? Is this enough to win the game with? Somehow a few Marauders are still going to town. Trying their absolute best. I mean, Cure really is scraping the bottom of the barrel here for a while already, but he's actually making this work surprisingly well. Double upgrades here in the Forge, by the way, still ticking along. That's 3-3 that's coming up here for Classic. Cure is stuck on 1-1. Yeah, terrible spot here for Cure. Oh, Prism goes down. A little bit of indecisiveness there yet again for Classic, who may very well move the probes onto the gold base, I suppose. Maybe recalling them would be a better move. Okay. Does Classic have enough to actually just straight up win the main fight? I think he does. Yeah, I think the eco advantage that he's had for such a long while now is just allowing him to brute force his way to a victory. But Cure is making it look very close. Cure just on an extended all-in, though. He's been all-in for like 5 minutes. And he now realizes that he does not have the units that it takes to obtain the victory. So it is indeed Classic who wins this game, but I think in the end, right, he assumed that the push that he did on the other side of the map was going to be enough. When he first attacked the third base, he could have killed the command center, but he wanted to win it all. He wanted to, like, kill the Terran's army and all of the economy, and then maybe the command center eventually. He could have probably sealed the deal by killing the command center and then coming back a minute or so later with the next push. Either way, he had enough stuff there. And it is indeed Classic who wins 2-1.